There is a faster way to destroy a country than war. War is honest. War announces itself with sirens and smoke. Everyone knows the enemy. Everyone understands the stakes. But there is another kind of destruction. One that wears a suit and carries a briefcase. One that speaks of liberation and delivers decay. One that arrives not with tanks, but with tenders. This is South Africa in 2026. A nation that should not exist in its current form. A nation with the world's largest platinum reserves. The world's deepest gold mines. A constitution that was once the envy of the democratic world. And an unemployment rate of 43% that makes the Great Depression look like a mild recession. A nation where 80 people are murdered every single day. Where 5 million young people will simply vanish from the economy this year. Not because they died, but because they stopped believing the system had a place for them. Where the government that ended apartheid has now presided over a collapse so complete that the phrase Rainbow Nation has become a bitter joke. And here is what should disturb you. South Africa was not ruined by its enemies. It was ruined by its heroes. In 1994, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and into history. He did not seek revenge. He sought reconciliation. He wore the jersey of the Springboks, the team of the oppressors, and made it the team of the nation. He built a constitution that protected the rights of the very people who had imprisoned him. The world watched in awe as a country that had been built on racial hatred chose, instead, to build something else. For a moment, it worked. Millions gained electricity. Millions gained water. Millions gained housing. A black middle class emerged. The social grant system became one of the largest welfare programs in the developing world. South Africa was proof that a nation could emerge from the worst form of institutionalized hatred and choose a different path. So what happened? How does a country with every advantage, mineral wealth, fertile land, modern infrastructure, global goodwill, a democratic constitution, become a place where the official unemployment rate is higher than almost any other country on earth, where the debt-to-GDP ratio has doubled in 15 years, where the government of national unity cannot even pass a budget on time? The answer is not one mistake. It is a blueprint. And if you want to understand how to ruin a nation, you need to study it carefully. The first step in destroying a country is to turn its government into a family business. In 2009, Jacob Zuma became president of South Africa. He did not arrive alone. He brought with him a network of patronage so extensive that it would eventually be called state capture, a term that sounds technical but describes something brutally simple: the systematic looting of public institutions by private interests connected to the ruling party. The Gupta family, businessmen with close ties to Zuma, did not merely influence policy. They controlled it. They decided who became finance minister. They decided who ran the national power utility. They decided which companies received government contracts worth billions. And the mechanism was elegant. Eskom, the state electricity company, needed coal. The Guptas bought a coal mine. Eskom then signed a contract to buy coal from that mine at inflated prices. The mine made money. The Guptas made money. And Eskom, which was supposed to keep the lights on, was slowly bled dry. But this was not corruption in the traditional sense. This was not officials taking bribes. This was the replacement of the state's capacity to serve the public with the state's capacity to serve the party. The government did not merely tolerate the looting. It facilitated it. It protected it. It made it the primary function of the state. By the time Zuma was forced from office in 2018, the damage was structural. Eskom was $30 billion in debt and unable to maintain its power stations. Transnet, the rail and ports authority, was decaying. The tax base had been eroded. And the ruling party, the ANC, had become so dependent on patronage networks that it could no longer distinguish between governing and self-enrichment. The state had been captured. And once a state is captured, it cannot solve problems. It can only create them. The second step in ruining a nation is to allow its infrastructure to collapse, and then to tell the people that darkness is normal. In 2007, South Africa experienced its first nationwide blackouts. The government called it load shedding, a euphemism for a power grid that could no longer meet demand. The cause was not mysterious. For years, maintenance had been deferred, new capacity had not been built, and the state utility had been hollowed out by the patronage networks that treated it as a source of personal wealth rather than a public service. What followed was 15 years of rolling blackouts. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 6. The stages became a language that South Africans learned to speak. Businesses installed diesel generators. Hospitals ran on backup power. Schools taught in darkness. The economy lost an estimated $28 billion in potential activity. But the damage went deeper than economics. When the state cannot keep the lights on, the social contract begins to fray. People stop believing that the government can solve problems. They stop paying taxes. They stop voting. They stop participating in the formal economy and retreat into survival strategies: informal work, crime, migration. And then, in 2023, something happened that revealed the true scale of the rot.
Now, outgoing Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter is alleged to have survived an attempt on his life after this allegedly happened on the 13th of December at his megawatt.
Andre de Ruyter, the CEO of Eskom, drank a cup of coffee in his office. Within minutes, he felt dizzy and nauseous. He began forgetting simple words. He could not remember the term power station. The coffee had been laced with cyanide. Someone had tried to murder the head of the national power utility. Not because he was failing, but because he was trying to stop the looting. The poisoning was not an accident. It was a message, and the message was clear. In South Africa, the infrastructure was not merely broken. It was being defended. The third step in ruining a nation is to create a society where the majority of young people have no stake in the future. In 2026, South Africa's official unemployment rate stands at 32.9%. But the expanded rate, which includes those who have given up looking for work, is 43%. Among young people aged 15 to 24, unemployment is 57%. Nearly 6 out of 10 young South Africans have no job. This is not a recession. This is not a downturn. This is a structural condition that has persisted for decades, that has outlasted multiple presidents, multiple economic plans, multiple promises of turnaround. The result is a generation that is disconnecting from the national project. As one parliamentary research report put it, when large sections of a generation remain excluded from formal work, it reshapes their relationship to democratic institutions and their sense of inclusion in the national project. Rights remain intact, but lived experience becomes increasingly disconnected from political promise. And when a nation's youth stops believing, the nation has no future. But the ruin is not complete, because there is one more step. The fourth and final step in ruining a nation is to look at the collapse and call it progress. In February 2026, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivered his State of the Nation address. He pointed to positive GDP growth, the lowest inflation rate in 20 years, and interest rates coming down. He noted that South Africa had achieved over 300 days without load shedding. He spoke of the country being stronger than a year earlier, and the claims were factually correct. But they told only part of the story. The other part was that the unemployment rate for Black South Africans was 35.8%, compared to 8.1% for white South Africans. The other part was that 55% of the population lived below the national poverty line. The other part was that the debt-to-GDP ratio had reached 72%, with debt service costs consuming 20% of the national budget, more than education, health, and safety combined. The other part was that the Government of National Unity, formed after the ANC's 2024 election loss, could not even pass a budget on schedule for the first time since the democratic transition. The other part was that the IMF had cut South Africa's 2026 growth forecast. The other part was that rising global oil prices from the Middle East conflict were threatening to push the economy back into crisis. And the other part was that South Africa remained the most unequal society in the world, with a Gini coefficient of 0.63, where inequality-adjusted human development drops by 35.6 percentage points from the official figure. When a government celebrates macroeconomic stability while its people experience microeconomic devastation, it has completed the final step of ruin. It has severed the connection between the state and the society it claims to represent. And so the blueprint is complete. Begin with a nation of promise. A nation with wealth, infrastructure, global goodwill, and a democratic constitution. Then capture the state, turning public institutions into instruments of private enrichment. Allow the infrastructure to collapse, teaching the people that darkness is normal and that the government cannot solve basic problems. Create a labor market that excludes the majority of young people, ensuring that an entire generation loses its stake in the future. And finally, deny the rot, celebrating macroeconomic indicators while the society beneath them fractures. South Africa may yet turn a corner. The government of national unity may yet deliver reforms. The private sector may yet generate the growth and employment that the state has failed to provide. But the blueprint for ruin has been written, and it is there for any nation to read. A nation is not its constitution. It is not its GDP. It is not its inflation rate. A nation is the lived experience of its people. And when the lived experience is one of darkness, exclusion, and despair, no amount of macroeconomic stability can disguise the ruin beneath.